Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter where you are in the world, let's try this again. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. I just want to say we got a couple new subscribers. Welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. Good to see you here. Glad you joined. And all the subscribers we got on hand, thank you for all the love and support you've shown us on the state. See, there I go again. But anyway, y'all are awesome. Thank you for all the watching the videos and everything else, and it's much appreciated. Also, too, make sure y'all tell your friends. Tell them to come on down, join the family. We're trying to get to the monetization point, so that way we can get up on what's going on. Okay, let me tell you why we're here today, and make sure y'all stay to the end. Make sure you stay to the end of the video. This way you know the conclusions, what kind of things I'm going to be doing today, and everything else. I'm coming back to the fact of the 4070, the RTX 4070, which I have on my PC, but I want to run a couple more tests because I want to be able to test the DLSS in it. So what I did is I went on to Steam. I found some freebies on Steam, to do more benchmarking. So that's where we're going to be headed today. Is we're going to be going on Steam. We're going to be checking out some new benchmarking and see what this can really do. So I'm not going to take and show y'all a bunch of lines and stuff, statistics and everything else. I'm just going to show you exactly what the 4070 is going to be doing. So if you're thinking about buying it in the future, you can always look back at my test results. I did a couple on 3D Mark already. So we're going to do this one for more benchmarking when we get there. So make sure you stick around for that, and get your drink and your snacks, and get yourself set, because we're going to get started with it. So here we go. Okay, since we flipped over there to the action screen, this right here is what they call Easy Benchmark. You can find it on Steam, so you'll be able to take and go ahead and go through it. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go through and, I got MSI Afterburner already up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip over to MSI Afterburner real quick. We're going to have a peeky look and see what we got. Everything's set at 0. Okay, everything is set at 0, as you can see right here. So we'll go ahead and we'll slide this off of the screen for right now, so that way you all can see what's going on here. Now they have the test right here for 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. So you got 3 different tests. Now, when I first ran this, I was able to test it at 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. Now they have here the DLSS. You can test DLSS on this, and this program's designed for the RTX series graphics cards. So you can test your RTX graphics cards with this test. Now this says, super resolution, so I would imagine that it does go for AMD as well, probably the newer cards, the 6000 series or the 7000 series. If you want to get it to test out, then you can get it to test out and try it out for yourself, see what kind of testing it runs. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave DLSS off. We're going to take and run at 1080p, and we're going to run our first test and see how we do. So the graphics card's already cranked up, so let's go ahead and start the test. and see what happens. So, as you can see, I'm cranked up the test. We're in 70, 80s, and do remind you, running OBS with this is going to lower my score a little bit, so I kind of take that into consideration. I think it's a really good test if you're wanting to test your DLSS, or some other kind of test, that you want to run. This is just without DLSS, just at 1080p. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. So this way we see without DLSS what it does. So I got a score of 9,022 running at, it looks like it says the maximum FPS is 146. The 1% minimum is 50, and the median FPS, the average FPS is about 79.6. So that's not too bad running it without DLSS. So we hit the ESC key, right? Now we go to 1440p, and I would imagine it'll do all the tests. Let's go ahead and run it in 1440p, no DLSS, no ray tracing, just baseline. That's all this is, and all I'm running right now is just baseline. So let's go ahead and run it in baseline and see what it does in 1440p. So, even though that my monitor's not 1440p, it will still allow it for some reason. That's just the way the programming is. So we're testing it in 1440p to see what's going to happen. And see what kind of results we're going to get. Oh wow, sorry about that. I had to sneeze real quick, but look, well, we're getting down there in the wire. I have to give a break in between each test so that way it cools off and it comes down to the moderate level. And as far as I can see, it's not running too bad. So let's go ahead and let it cool down a little bit so it'll bring it back to normal exact temperatures. Well, in actuality, it's not. It's actually keeping it up there. But now we got a score of 6,108. That means it's running a maximum of 76.64 FPS at the max, 41.23 at the minimal, and the median is running at about 53.7. So actually the numbers dropped, going from 1080p to 1440p. Now let's go ahead and try it at 4K with DLSS off and see what happens. So we're now going to run it at 4K. And as you can see, the numbers shrunk. That's how you know you're running up at 4K, is that your monitor shrinks, the screen shrinks and the pixels get smaller, so you're doubling the amount of pixels trying to get in there. They're just squeezing tighter. So, and I'm running it at 4K like it says it is. Let's see what results we get at 4K. Now, this is with DLSS off. Everybody says, run it with DLSS off and see what you're getting. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm doing. So, Alrighty, we got a base score of 3,158. It definitely dropped with 4K. Let's see, the maximum is 34 FPS, the minimum is 24.6 FPS, and the median is at about 27.8, and that's basically your average. So, and believe it or not, it says the resolution's running right there, right in front of y'all, at 3840 times 2160. I mean, can't get any better than that. Okay, now hopefully we can switch everything around again. Oh my god, I hate when it does this. We'll work on it. We'll get it there. Okay. Now, I do apologize for that. You know, I'm using two monitors. It seems they don't want to play nice. You know. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to take and turn on Ultra Performance at 1080p and see what we get. DLSS, Ultra Performance, 1080p. Let's roll it. And see what we get. So as you can see that it's actually doubled its FPS with this frame generation or DLSS frame generation. It looks like it's, you know, doing pretty good at a decent FPS, but I really don't have anything overclocked or anything else. You know, the GPU is just running at stock. So this is exactly what we're running it at stock, just to see what happens at stock. Now, gives a score of 18,014. Says that the maximum FPS at 1080p is 241, and the minimum is at 62.98. That would pretty much be your 1% low, and then your average would be 159, would be on your average. So that's at 1080p. So let's go ahead and switch it over to 1440p and see what we get. Now this card was supposed to be based on 1440p. Now, from what I'm seeing, I don't foresee it, you know, giving up anything at 1440p. I'm just seeing it at 1080p running at a better response than 1440p. But don't count it out. We still got 4K to go. So, but I'm still running it at stock. This is at stock power. This is not running it any hotter or any, you know, any lower or any higher. It's right there, dead in the middle, stock. It's what you would get when you run it stock. So, this is what y'all wanted to see. We got a score of 15,186. Now the maximum FPS is 206.28. The minimum FPS is 68.16, and your average FPS is 134.3 FPS. So that's not too bad. You know, that's not too good. So at 1080p, frame generation might start. They might have DLSS at 1080p, but I'm not too sure about this program being DLSS 3, but it's still DLSS regardless. It still gives us a little bit of a factor. Now let's go to 4K and see what it gives at 4K Ultra. Let's see what happens at 4K Ultra. Because do remind you, with some of your games, this is just giving you a baseline. Okay, that's all you're getting with this is a baseline. You know, so that way you can understand where it comes from. And I do apologize because you can't see all the numbers and they're off of the screen for some reason. It's probably because it's not fitted on the screen just right. But when you get the overall results, that's basically what you're getting. So if I ever run a test again, I'll make double check to make sure that everything's on the screen. And I do apologize for that, but you do get to see the results, and that's what matters the most. Okay, so the score dropped. It went down to 10,482. Maximum FPS at 4K, 144.42. Minimum at 4K is 71.4. And your average is around 93.07. So, not too bad as far as 4K. Doesn't look like it's too bad at all. It's running pretty good at 4K. Now, we'll hit the ESC key. And I do apologize. This is going to do it every time. For some reason, it's kind of because I'm going up to a second monitor and it seems like it keeps flipping it out. So let me do this. Let me go ahead and just switch you guys around. And you guys get to see everything. I'm switching everything around. So that way, you know, you all can see what's going on. And that way we can get everything going in the road. Okay. So now we'll switch our displays around. This way you can see it a little bit better. You know. We'll go ahead and do that and get it within line. I do apologize, I'm taking a little bit longer than usual. So we'll go ahead and we'll leave it there. And we already did the 4K test. Now what we're going to do is 1080p. We're going to drop it down to balanced, so y'all can see it at balanced, and we'll start there. Better. That's a little bit better for y'all. Sorry about the flicker too, but that's usually how it goes when you run two monitors and you're trying to test with two monitors. Now, if I was running a capture card on a different computer, that would be a different story. Then I would have a test bench with the capture card, and then it wouldn't be this bad. So, but I don't have that kind of setup just yet, but I am working towards it, just to let you know. So, do be patient with me on that. We will get there someday where I have a computer with the capture card in it, and then a test bench. I can run, test with, graphics cards, or, motherboards and stuff like that. Okay, so now at 1080p, we got a score of 14,408, and that's at balanced. So the maximum FPS is 195.96, minimum's 55.39, but your normal average is running at about 127. So that's not too bad on balanced, DLSS, and 1080p. Not too bad. So now I'll give the screen time to catch up. We'll go to 1440p on balanced, and we'll start there. So I like this program for the simple fact, and just to be honest with y'all, I stumbled into this program. I was like messing around looking for, benchmarks that don't cost you anything, that you can do all these benchmarks with, that, when you get a graphics card, you'll be able to do all these testings. And from what I see, this test right here, this has been pretty true. So, this gives me a true test result, since I matched it to many others testings of the RTX 4070, and this seems like it comes down to, pretty cool on the testing. So, okay, we're at 1440p. The maximum FPS was 161. The minimum was 73, and right down to the average was running at 100 FPS. So get a score of 11,310. Now, we'll run this at 4K, and then what I'll do is I'll switch everything around again, and then bring myself up top, and we'll do a conclusion, and I'll let you know what's on my mind. So we'll go ahead and we'll switch this to 4K, running at balanced. Hopefully I'm not doing the test twice. I got to remember to put a check sheet right here. So, and I do apologize. I'm half awake too, trying to do the testing and everything else. But I wanted to bring you all along on this testing. This is not so much like, doing, the typical benchmarking, like, what was that other test? Let me remember the name of it. Oh, see, when you wake up in the morning, that's what happens. But like I said, this is raw. Y'all are going to see it as is. I'm not editing nothing. I'm just, if I add little things in there, little commentary and stuff, that's adding to, but I'm not erasing anything. So you see everything I'm doing. So when I'm doing the testing, I'm doing the testing as you see it. I'm giving you right here, real time. This is all real time that I'm doing this in. So we got a score of 6,918, and the maximum FPS is 82.23. The minimum FPS is 45.5, but the average is 61 FPS. So the way I look at the average, 61 FPS, between 61 and 70 FPS for 4K, not too bad. On balanced DLSS at 4K. So, okay. Now that I ran all the tests, I've seen what did I need to see for the RTX 4070, doing all what it needed to do. So I'm pretty happy with the way the test results came out. So Knowing that, I am very happy with the test results. So I'm shutting down Steam and everything else. Okay, now let's reverse this roll and turn you guys around. So on the next bit, okay, there. So when your graphics card sits idle, this one sits idle at 210 megahertz, and the memory sits at 405 megahertz. But right there, the power sits at 894 millivolts, but the GPU is like at 89 degrees right now, 90 degrees, somewhere in between there. Not too bad. Not too shabby when it sits idle. Not too shabby when it sits idle. Now, let's bring you up to the top and talk about it. And I did it again. I keep forgetting that for some reason. But anyway, we're back on top. Okay, you guys want my conclusion to this? Thing is this. From what I see on the RTX 4070, 1440p, it doesn't run too bad. 4K, it's questionable. 1080p runs fine. Now, DLSS 3 or DLSS, I don't know if that's DLSS 3 or not. I still got to investigate it, But from what I'm seeing, it's still DLSS. Even if it's not DLSS 3, it's just regular DLSS, it's still something. And if it's just regular DLSS, imagine if you plug in DLSS 3, that could be a different story. Okay? But we can see that, with it running baseline, it runs 1/2 of what it does for DLSS 3. Or DLSS. I don't even know if that's DLSS 3. But I'm going to just say DLSS. So it runs 1/2 of DLSS. So baked in, if you were to run this on DLSS 3, I would run it on balanced, and I would run it on 1440p, because some of your games are baked on to where DLSS won't run unless you're on 1440p or higher. Okay, so, but some games will let you run on 1080p and DLSS 3. So try to keep it on balanced. From what I'm seeing, running it on balanced is a good thing. Running it on high performance, I think that's going to be a little too sketchy to run it on high performance. Especially if you wanted to eat up more RAM, I would best to keep it on balanced. Keep it on, 1440p. Now, as far as game settings, I would keep it at I would keep it at a medium setting, running it at 1440p on DLSS 3. No ray tracing, just to say no ray tracing. Okay. Now, I do have another test that I will be doing on the next video. We'll be running ray tracing. I got another benchmark for ray tracing. So, at least now you're getting the full specs of the RTX 4070 baseline and with DLSS. Not DLSS 3, but DLSS. So, at least you get an idea of what it can do. So, and believe it or not, I think myself, for the games I play and everything else, it runs fine. It runs just the way it's expected to do. I mean, I've already overclocked it to over 3 gigahertz, 3.045 gigahertz. So I've already hit its max. I've already hit its max voltage, which I didn't like it to be at max voltage, because if not, then you're looking at the hot spot for the video card, and that hot spot, it does go up pretty hot. So it does get up there, but it doesn't reach the 95C. Now it might reach about 65 to 70C on the hot spot, but that's pretty much about as far as I've seen it reach. So, but if you push it to the utmost utter max, trying to get every little inch of FPS out of it, I would imagine you could hit it up to about 83, 84 degrees Celsius. So I wouldn't push that GPU that hard. No siree. Anything that goes past 60 degrees Celsius is too much on your graphics card. Your transistors will last longer if the cooler you keep them. So the cooler you keep that, the longer it's going to last. Never push your transistors above and beyond, unless you're an enthusiast and you got that kind of money to burn. Okay, then that's a different story. But if you're an everyday consumer, you just want it to game and everything else, you don't need to push the FPS that hot. Keep it on DLSS 3 balanced, and just run it at a medium setting. You shouldn't need anything else. 1440p, 1080p without DLSS could run the same way, but you can run 1080p baseline, or you can run 1440p with DLSS 3. I wouldn't run ray tracing with this, and we'll test on the ray tracing, but I think from what I've been seeing other people doing their testing and everything else, that it seems that every time they put on ray tracing, FPS automatically drops to the ground. I don't know why everybody's so hyped on ray tracing. I'm not getting it. I mean, AMD's not hyped on ray tracing that much, but they get better FPS. But all of a sudden, that nvidia comes out with saying ray tracing's the best and everything else, and no. I don't know. I kind of differ on that, because I hear many people complaining about the ray tracing on nvidia graphic cards, that it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest on AMD neither. Either way, it's not the greatest. So I'm not worried about ray tracing. I'm worried about what this card will actually do at full tilt by itself, without DLSS 3, but with DLSS 3 and 1440p, DLSS 3 balanced 1440p on the medium. You can go on a high setting, but I would stay at a medium setting, especially when you're running Cyberpunk and all that. If you want decent graphics with great FPS, that would be the best way to go. A lot of people have done it to where they run it on the high settings or the ultra settings, and when it comes to the graphics, the only thing that's going to change is what's on your screen. So it's not going to really change the fact of the game itself. So even playing it on a medium setting, so you're not killing your graphics card, you're not killing your motherboard, you're not killing your processor, is not a bad deal. So if you want to eliminate a lot of heat in your computer, kind of tone down the settings a little bit to where it's nice and soothing to you when you're playing your game, and you have no problems, you have no micro stutters, you have no jittering, Everything it flows in just correctly to where, you have no trails or anything else when you play your games, and stuff like that. So, keep that in mind, and that's how you set it up. It's set up per user. So you set it up to what your visual is for you. Don't set it up to what we have on ours, because it might not be the same for yours. Set it up for your advantage to you, not to the advantage we have. We have advantages, we have disadvantages, we have every kind of, obstacles in front of us. Especially me running 1080p, I have all the obstacles in the world. I just wanted to test this thing at 1440p and 4K to see what it did. Now that I got that answer, now I know what I'm going to be looking at towards the future when I get a 4K monitor that I can move down and get this. Take a 4K monitor, a really decent 4K monitor, move it down to 1440p. Just because you move it down doesn't mean that the settings are going to be off. You might get better response taking a 4K monitor and moving it down to 1440p. And this is where I come to it about. I had a lot of thought about that. Taking either an 8K, 4K, moving it down to 1440p where the gaming's nice and rich, and the FPS is there, there's no stuttering, anything else, whole 900 yards. But I can tell you, when we test the ray tracing on here, if it's stuttering on the ray tracing, I already know that's cut off. Now, I'm not going to deal with it. That's where the problem is, and nvidia needs to fix it. Okay, so if I have any problem with the ray tracing, DLSS 3 DLSS on this testing, I had no problem with. I didn't see no trails, no stutters, no nada. And you can go back and review the video again just to see yourself. And maybe if I missed it, put a comment down below and let me know if I missed it. I don't think I missed it, but I gave you a couple different testing scenarios. I gave it from the 1080p, 1440p, 4K, no DLSS, and then I gave you 1080p, 1440p, and 4K with DLSS. So this way you can see, what the advantage is and what the disadvantage is. Where can you go wrong with that? And even if you run it at high performance with no DLSS, you're just running base. You're just running off of the graphics card, just like if you're running like AMD is. If you want to take and compare AMD to nvidia, run them both at baseline. Run both of these cotton pickers at baseline. That's where everybody gets it wrong. When they do their testing, they do it, we got to put DLSS in here. We got to do this. We got to do that. No, if I were to run an AMD card in here, I would run the same test the same way on the same machine. So you would get different, you would see the actual results that I get from mine. But now the test I run for this RTX 4070, these are the actual results I'm getting. Now as far as gameplay, I'm actually getting more than what these test results are showing. So basically you're seeing the baseline to what I'm seeing on my test results for when I'm playing the games. So I'm getting like double when it comes to the games I play. You get the point? So there you go. So if I'm getting double on the games I play, and it comes down to it, I got myself a good card. I really do. I mean, I can't beat it. Especially if you're going to play, your DirectX 12 games, your ultimate DirectX 12 games. This gives you an idea of how far this card will go. Unless you want to pay $300 or $400 more and get yourself the 4070 Ti, then you can go that route too. Or if you listen to everybody sit there and say, well, I'm getting myself a 6950 XT. Okay, you go ahead and get yourself the 6950 XT, the RX 6950 XT. Go ahead and get yourself that. And see how long you're going to get with that card compared to getting a newer generation card. And go from there. Everybody's like, oh yeah, we can get another 10, 12, 13, 14 years out of that card, that 6950 XT. No, you probably can, but you probably can't neither. Because, 10 years down the road, they're going to be up three different series. They're going to be up 3 different grades of series. And that card ain't going to mean nothing in 10 years. It ain't going to mean nothing in 5 years, I bet. Even the card I got's going to mean something in 5 years. But they're going to be up to another generation coming next year. So, you're going to be down 2 generations compared to being up to the top. That's kind of how I look at it. Everybody has their own different way of game playing. Everybody has their own monitors, their own computer systems. Nothing's the same. Okay, and this is what narrows it down to it. Nothing is the same. Nobody has the same of anything unless you build 2 PCs the same way. Same exact way. They're still not going to be the same exact way because of the variations off of each one of them. One of them you could have the Silicon Lottery, or the other one you can't, or just vice versa. So when it comes to it all, no PC will run the same, no matter how you build it, no matter what you do. Okay, you're always going to get different variations of testing results. Everybody thinks, oh, the testing results are going to be the same, and no, they're not. Everybody has their own variations of their own motherboards, of their own processors, their own RAM, and so on and so forth. Okay. You can run the best of the best of the best and run that all the way to the top, but who you think's going to buy that computer? Who you think's going to buy all those parts that are all the way at the top? 99% of the population ain't gonna. The 1%ers maybe, but 99% ain't. They're going to be looking on the other end. What can I get for the lower end deal? Since everybody done ran away from, DDR4 series, the AM4 series, everybody ran away from it. Oh, because the AM5 came out and everybody just ran to it. Okay, and then you ran into all those stupid problems that you're having now, and now you're seeing everybody run back to the AM4 series because now they ain't getting what they're getting off of the AM5 series, so they're all running back to the AM4 series. It's a mess. Okay, if you can't make your mind up of what you want, then just stay right where you're at. Okay. Me, I told you guys in the beginning, when I first started making my videos, in the beginning, that I'm doing it piece by piece. That means I went from the B450 series up to the B550 series. Now, once I test out a lot of processors on the motherboard that's here, then I'll go up to the B650 series. Okay? But in AM4 series, there's a lot to test. You got a lot of stuff here to test. There's a lot to do here. I still I got a hell of a lot of testing to do with different processors on the B450 motherboard. I still got tons of testing I got to do on that. So that's all in the future. You know, everybody's like, well, you know, why use a B450 motherboard? It's only got PCIe 3.0 x16. Okay, so if you run a graphics card that's PCIe 4.0 x8, don't you think it's going to be equal to the 3.0 x16? Really? So, you know, it's common sense. You know, when it comes to what you want to buy, if you want a budget computer or not, you know, depends on how much you want to spend for a motherboard. Some people don't want to spend over $60 to $70 for a motherboard. B450 Asus motherboard, one that I got that I showcased a lot on this channel. $79.99, $80, $100. You can get yourself a B550 motherboard. $160, you can get yourself a B650 motherboard, and so on. Keep moving up and down the road. So if you just want to get to the top and not worry about the bottom, then go to the top and not worry about the bottom. But me, I'd rather stick in the B550 series, AM4. I'm still getting the same. I'm getting good great test results. You know, well, I'm not looking to run the frequency up to 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz to where everybody is right now. I'm running between 4.2 and 4.7 gigahertz. Well, actually, this processor here runs me between 3.6 gigahertz to 4.650 gigahertz. It's max, it's minimal. Set on auto, and that's the way it runs. Now, when it comes to the video card, it'll run from the GPU clock will run from 210 megahertz all the way up to 3.045 gigahertz. That's just the way it rolls. So I'm happy with the widespread that, you know, this graphics card does. And I'm happy with the widespread that the processors does. And I'm happy with the motherboard because it's for 64 gigs of RAM, it's definitely holding up to what I'm putting it through. It's definitely holding up. So I still got room to modify and do more things to this, but I'm telling you, I'm pretty happy with the way the computer is right now. Tickled pink. I mean, everybody can go spend $3,000, $4,000 for a computer. I got that right here, but it's only $1,000 right here, less than $1,000. So, but you can build up to that point. You know, let's say you get a B550 motherboard, you get a decent processor, and you know, and then you build up on your graphics card, put it all together. You have one of your old cases, you have your fans and everything else, your power supply, you have all the rest of it. So modify your case, put in your new motherboard, put your new processor in, put your new graphics card in. You can shed about $350 by using your old stuff. You can shed off about $350 using your old stuff. So when it comes down to it, you're just paying for the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM. And you're using all the rest of your old stuff. That's exactly what I did. So just got the graphics card, motherboard, and processor. Everything else I had. So is what it is. But anyway, I'm glad y'all stuck around to the end, and I hope to see you on the next video too. But if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And thank you for all the ones that have subscribed. Thank you for being here, and thank you and welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. And the veteran subscribers, you know it. And I'm going to say it again and again and again. Thank you so much for being here, helping support the channel. So make sure y'all tell your friends, tell your family, tell your cousins, tell your uncles, and tell everybody in the world. Come on down to the JJPC Builds. Subscribe. Watch all the videos. Would be much appreciated. But until the next time, and I mean the next time, and the next time that I'm going to be on the video, this is JJ. You know who it is, right here on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.